Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about a package in Laravel called Laravel Blueprint. For the time being, the point to be noted is this package starting with version 2 Blueprint only generates code for the latest stable version of Laravel, currently Laravel 9. If you need to support older versions of Laravel, you may use version 1 or upgrade your application. Try using Shift. So what it says is this blueprint package is currently available for Laravel 9 only, not a version above than Laravel 9. So if you want to use this package, you have to have Laravel 9 as your project. And also what this package does is Blueprint is an open source tool for rapidly generating multiple Laravel components from a single human readable definition. What it says is you can make models, migration files, controllers, etc. using this human readable syntax. It generates a YML file where you write the syntax with certain points to be kept in mind, like indentation and syntax, the way you write these texts, and the indentation between this text, like parent component, child component, etc., should be maintained and should be written very accurately and carefully so that no errors can occur. So before that, you should have lamp in your system. I'm using Ubuntu. So for lamp installation, I will go to install lamp in Ubuntu. Then I will go to this website. This DigitalOcean is a very good website for reference purpose for installing lamp. You can also change the version of your Ubuntu according to your needs by searching the version of your Ubuntu, like 3.04. So this will give you Ubuntu 20. So this will give you the installation steps for installing Ubuntu, installing lamp in your Ubuntu 20.04. So following these guides, you can easily set up your lamp in your system. Then what you will need is, what I will be using is SQLite 3. SQLite 3 for database purpose. So you can have this installed, or you can simply use MySQL as a DB driver. Then I will start creating a new project for Laravel. I will go to Laravel documentation. And then go to getting started installation. Click on Laravel 9th version. Browsing for an older version or consider upgrading. So it is an older version from the current latest version, but yeah, if you want to use this package for now, you can't help, you have to use this version itself. Example, automate components generation. So what it will do is it will create your Laravel project for Laravel 9, and after this project is generated and created, you can easily install that project or package. So what you have to keep in mind is the command I'm using is composer for creating this project in Laravel. So for that you have to keep in mind to have Composer also installed in your system. It should be globally available. So I'm using Composer version 2.5.4. You can easily search for it. Composer. Again, Digital Ocean will come to your help. It is very well documented and easy to follow through these instructions. So yeah, I will prefer to you that you use DigitalOcean for these Ubuntu related configurations and other guides. So yeah, now you can switch to this Laravel application. Go to code. I have VS Code installed in my system, so that is what I am using as my text editor. So this is the VS Code I have installed, and this is my code editor in the example. So first I will create a base.sqlite. Then I will copy the absolute path. Go to env. Nothing is required. Only my driver will change. This is also not required. This is not required. This is changed to absolute. This is also not required. Then you will see that in your migration file some default migrations are there. So when you run php artisan migrate, which you can see in this command list, when you run php artisan, where is it? db seed here. You run php artisan, simply migrate. It might run all your migrations here. When you run migrate fresh, first runs all the down commands of your migrations. Down, 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 down. And it will run all your up commands of your migration. Up, 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 up. So to test that our database is connected securely, we can try this php artisan migrate. See, our migration is done successfully. That is, our connection is for our SQLite DB is configured correctly. How we can verify this? I will be using dbverse. It is a very good GUI for multiple database connections like MySQL, PostgreSQL, etc. So I will go to database connection, new database connection. I will select my DB driver as SQLite. Then I will do nothing. Copy this database absolute path here, paste it over here, finish. Then I will select this. It will show all my tables, users table with properties, ER diagram, etc. Then my personal access token properties, data, ER diagram. So similarly, you can see your database using this DB with GUI. So yeah, this is done. So now let's move on to our main thing, which we have going to discuss. For that, first you will install this package. Composer require this. Once this package is installed, I will guide you to further steps. So once it is installed, when you type PHP artisan, you will see some new commands: build, blueprint erase, blueprint init, blueprint new, blueprint stubs, trace. I will discuss these commands in detail as we follow through this tutorial. But for general purpose, what is written, you can read it. Blueprint: build components from a blueprint draft. What is a blueprint draft? This blueprint blueprint new command, what it does is, you see it is an alias. So basically it creates a draft.yml file and load existing models. Like in Laravel, as you can see, there are some default migrations for user and etc. So for user there is also a model. So what it does is, if there is any existing model already created by Laravel, like user model, then it will be initialized in this uh, uh, in a dot blueprint file, which you can see as I will show you when we go through this tutorial. And then we erase. This erase components create from last blueprint build. Whatever we created using this command of blueprint build, that can be erased using this command. That is also I will show you in detail. And basically it is possible because of a dot blueprint file which is generated, carrying all the details of last generated blueprint components. So yeah, I will show you how it is done. First, I will write the initial, show you the folder structure. This is a folder structure, and see how things go on. I write PHP artisan blueprint new. See what happens. It creates a draft.yml file, and it creates a .blueprint file with a default model, existing model, user already, which is defined. So this user model is already defined by our Laravel. So what this .blueprint maps is the predefined user model, this one, with all its attributes like name, email, password, and their data types. It is being mapped in this .blueprint, and this file is the one which allows us to run this command of blueprint erase, because erase components from last blueprint build. But the main question is, how does it knows which components are being created using this command? So it knows that by going through this file, see what are the components being mapped here, and it knows this, all these components that are being mapped here are generated using this build command. So it simply retraces those components and removes them from the Laravel folder structure. So yeah, this file is very important for these commands to run properly. So before that, we have to make our draft YML file. So I will start writing. First of all, I will complete this YML file with whole syntax that I have planned, with all the components, models, controllers, etc. Then I will explain to you one by one what those syntax actually means. So in models, I will create an employee model with attributes name, type, string 100, identification with string 100, birth with date time. See, these spaces need to be maintained very accurately. Then you will have a salary of type unsigned integer. Okay. Then you have marital status of type enum, single, married, divorced. Then you have bonus type decimal, with 2 decimal places, and it has a default value of null. That is, it can be nullable if nothing is given for this field. Then we have order of type, again unsigned integer, and we will give this a default value of 1, and it has to be indexed. So what it does is, we know that our primary key is by default indexed. What index field does is, it makes us searching, or basically whenever we want to fetch something from our DB, so the process of fetching that using indexed column becomes very fast, because what does index do is, an index column, basically our DB maintains a indexing of that column. So all these entries will have a separate set of indexes mapped by a DB, due to which whenever we write a query of select based on that indexed column, it makes our query very efficient and faster comparatively, because it refers to those indexes maintained by DB itself for that indexed column. So like our ID, whenever we try to search something or a set of data using our ID, like ID1 or ID2, like select all where ID is equal to 1, or select all where ID is equal to 2, select name where ID is equal to. So when we use ID for our select query, our processing becomes faster than we are using some other column, like select name where identification equal to this, or birth equal to this, which is not indexed. The reason is, again, if our column is indexed, our DB is maintaining separate indexes for all the entries in that column. So it makes us searching very fast. And vice versa, due to these separate indexes being maintained by our DB, whenever we are making some modification like update, etc., these columns make it more time consuming, because if you are updating this column like index 1 to index 2, which is id 1 to id 2, which is not normally done because it is a primary key and auto incremented. Say if your order, if you're updating an order for a particular identified employee with name this, to from 1 to 2, so along with updating that order value itself, the DB will also update its index value also, which is maintained by DB itself. So there is two updation being made for just one field order, or one index field. So this will make your query more time consuming. So you have to keep in mind when to make index columns or index fields. depending on your use case. So everything has its pros and cons. So that was what index fields were. Now we will move on to defining or completing this YML file. We will have department ID, which is foreign key of department component. Mm, Then we have soft deletes tz time zone. Then we will define some relationships. Belongs to many project as one contact info. Then we have contact info component. Which has phone field of type string 100, email field of type string 100, relationships this belongs to employee. Then we have another component with name department, this one, with name of type string 100, timestamps time zone tz, and relationships as many employee. I will explain all these things in detail after completing this YML file. String 100, then it has timestamps false, so it will prevent any timestamps or default timestamps from being created in our migration or model. And relationships will be belongs to many employee. Then I will generate some seeders for all these components. Contact info, department, project. So yeah, and I will also make a controller with employee as its controller. It will create a employee controller file which will have a test method, which will have a find query based on employee.id. So yeah, our YML file is done. So our next step would be, once our YML file is done, we will check our this builder command. We have written this new command. Init and new is same. Now we will go for build components from a blueprint draft. So this is a blueprint draft.yml. Now we have to create component based on this blueprint draft. So what we will do is, we will write php audition blueprint build. See what are the changes being made. Created means new file has been created. Those files are employee controller.php, factories employee factory.php. These files are created due to those seeder commands and these migrations. And these seeders are being created due to seeder commands. All these are created due to our model components, whatever we have written in our model components. And these are due to our seeders. And this controller file is generated due to our controllers, and this route changes is also due to our controller component, whatever we have written in our controller component. So yeah, so now let's see our changes that are being made in our directory file, like blueprint dot see all those components and commands or whatever has been created has been traced in this file. See, so based on this tracing, when we run this PHP artisan build blueprint erase, it simply goes through this file, analyze it. It knows that what components have been generated using this blueprint command, and simply refers this file to delete those components and uh, reset our whole file directory or project to our initial state before this blueprint build command was executed. So I will also run this rotation migrate command, because when you go to your database migrations file, new migrations have been created. So yeah, you can now run this command. We'll create those new migrations. So now when you compare your draft.yml, first I will compare my draft.yml with my migration files. First, go to employee. What does employee does is, first of all, it creates this migration file. Okay, and see, string 100, name 100, identification 100, birth date time, salary unsigned integer, marital status enum, single married divorce values, bonus decimal with two places with size 8, two decimal places, and its default value nullable. Order unsigned integer, default value 1, and it is an indexed field. Then department ID is foreign. Yes, department ID is a foreign key. And what it does, It creates a relationship between department and employee. How? Let's see. We also have our models file created for all these components: employee contact info, department project, employee contact info project, right? CR employee and department. UC has many employee, belongs to department. So what it means is basically an employee belongs to a department. That is, an employee can belong to any one department, not all. It can be either sales department, marketing department, HR department, delivery department, etc. So that is what this relation establishes, and this connection is made based on department ID as foreign key. And similarly, when you go to your department, you will have an employees relationship, has many employees. This relationship is established. So all this is generated, all these model files and relationships are being written by itself without you having to move even a single finger for navigating to these files and making those changes. They're simply being written out using this draft. So yeah, it makes this very simple. And now, since you are defining all your components in a single file, you can easily establish relationship between them and plan your whole project entities and their relationships very easily. So yeah, this helps a lot. And also you have to remember that this thing has to be done at the initial level of project when your project has not been gone to production, because when your project is live, you can't easily make changes using this component or dependency or builder blueprint. So remember to use this package as efficiently and as planned in a planned way as possible before your first release or before your project goes live, so that in future you don't have to be dependent on this package, because this package is not universal. That is, it is not the solution to all your problems. It will give you some it will facilitate your development process somehow, but it will not be your ultimate solution to all your problems. So yeah, be remember to use this package efficiently and smartly, and also keep in mind that you can help the new team members for on quickly onboarding your project, right? This will also make setting up your whole project very easy, so any new member can easily onboard in your project by simply installing this dependency in his development server or his local server or local system and running some basic commands of blueprint. He can easily create these components without much hassle and save a lot of time of development, etc. So yeah, this will also make onboarding of new members quicker also. So yeah, these points have to be keep in mind. Why am I saying it's not your solution to every problem? I will show it to you. Like you have seen mm, that it also updated our routes web.php, right? Go to routes web.php. See, this route is created. It is directing to a employee controller with method test, right? So we go to this controller. This controller was also created with this command. So we have this employee controller here created. Test method, employee controller with test method with the find query based on employee ID. But it doesn't make any sense. This query is running, but what you are doing with this? You can't write that detailed query using this draft file. So you have to make some changes, right? You can't be completely dependent on this package. So yeah, and another thing that I wanted to show you was like if I do this erase, it is deleting all these components created. So now when you go to your out.web.page, you will notice that this is not being updated, right? So this is an issue. Now this controller file does not exist anymore. See, it is deleted. But it is still showing this. So this will give an error when you again build your components. See, this is what happens. So yeah, you have to keep these points in mind that you can't be overly dependent on this package, and you have to be sure that where the changes are being made, you have to be able to read this things whatever being generated or the result is being generated, so that you can identify the choke points or the issue points where the issue can occur by referencing these files or paths which are being created, components which are being created and shown here. So yeah, can't be overly dependent on this package, but yeah, it definitely helps you a lot in various things. Now similarly, we have other relationship for employees, that is employee belongs to many project. So yeah, you can see here app http models employee, it has belongs to many project and has one contact info. See, all these relationship are established perfectly. Then we have a contact info. When we go to our contact info model, so you see belongs to employee. Similarly, department is already shown to you. This is also already shown. These seeders can be seen here like this. You go to your seeders, database, seeders. This is your contact info seeder. This is your database seeder. This is default seeder, department seeder, employee seeder. So these seeders are also created. And remember that these you cannot be overly dependent on these seeders also. You have to make some changes according to your requirement or logic. Yeah. Like you are making some master table, like you have made a roles master table. So for that you have roles super admin and platform user. So name of these roles cannot be written specifically using this cdr command. You have to go into those files and make those changes or write that query. So you can't be overly dependent on this cdr also. But yeah, for general making generating components and all that, it prevents you to go through all that hassle of creating that file and writing this char or using that php artisan command. You simply write one command and all these components are generated, so it removes that extra effort, but you have to put in some effort or changes according to a requirement. So what is this soft delete? Some things which I have not mentioned. Soft deletes, what it does is you go to your migrations, mm, go to your employees table. See, this is what this does is it creates a soft delete with tz time zone, and then timestamps change it. Again, you go to your department. See, this is what it is. Then you have your timestamps also. Now you go to your project migrations. See, there are no timestamps. So this is, it removes that default timestamps whichever is being provided by a Laravel, like the here. This migration we have default timestamp, right? Timestamps. So timestamps false will remove this line from a migration, and when we migrate we will not have our default created at updated at timestamp in our table. So you can also check these tables out, which have been created using this PHP artisan migrate. So now when you refresh it, you will see all those tables: contact info, properties, data, ER diagram. Then you have departments with ER diagram, properties. Then you will have your employee project. See this employee project table. You will notice employee project, why there is a separate table employee project even though no such component is being built here. And you will also notice this is an extra migration file created without mentioning it. How this migration file is created? This file is created because this table is actually a pivot table. Pivot table is basically a table which is used to establish many-to-many relationship. Your employee and your project is in many-to-many relationship defined here. See, employee belongs to many project, and similarly your project belongs to many employee. So you can't have a belongs to relationship like a foreign ID or kind of thing. So you will make a pivot table which will have employee ID as its foreign key, project ID as its foreign key, and basically these two are the primary key of employee table and project table. So what it does is an employee can have multiple projects, and a particular project can have multiple employees, and all those many to many entries can be mapped in this pivot table, and you can use the join query or this relationship itself to fetch the details based on employee or project. Like if you want to get all the project listing based on an employee ID, you can use this relationship to write that query, eloquent query, which is being mentioned in our employee component. And similarly you can vice versa do the same for project itself, and it basically refers this table. So yeah, you have to keep in mind that whenever you are creating records for employee and projects, you have to also update that pivot table so that you can efficiently use this relationship and write query accordingly. So yeah, that's it for our draft file. So I have explained almost everything for this draft file. Then I will mention some other things for this controller, like you can write an update name identification. Now you run this erase command and then again build command. Now you will come to your employee controller. See, it will write the update query. Similarly, you can write the query also, like store dot name. See, it will create a store query. And then you can write save employee. It will create a save. And then you can write validate employee. This will create a request file. See, it will create a request file, and you can go to this request file and see all the validation by default mentioned in it. Then you can render employee dot so what it does is it also creates your view file. See, this is created, and you can navigate to this view file like you are compacting employee. So you can simply employ where dump cancel, and then this test route is defined here. Okay. See, so many test routes are defined, which is wrong. So you can't be completed dependent on this. Okay. See, this employee is being generated, but nothing is defined as employee. So you can simply write employee as an array with ID one and name cancel. So when I go to this route, I will do PHP artisan serve. Okay. Then I will come to web.php employee test, and I go to this route. See, this coming. So yeah, this is how you will use this package to make your Laravel building process more efficient and accurate. So I hope this will also help you a lot and you like this tutorial. Thanks.